Greetings and welcome to another Just Talk. That's right, we are back with our weekly channel news and analytics show. And this week has been a big week for me. First of all, I'm here in the agency car, fully upgraded because I believe it is the fastest car in the game, and that is why I'm in it. And of course, that itself is a metaphor. It is a metaphor for my super fast new computer, which I have purchased. That is the big news for me. That is the big development for me this week. I finally decided that my old computer had its day, and it was past time to do its upgrade. My old computer, if you weren't aware, was a Core 2 Quad, which I had overclocked to about 3.2 gigahertz. Which, was not too bad. It was water cooled. It was fairly decent back in the day. But it had long since kind of like gotten past its best. It only had 4 gigs of RAM, DDR2. I had a solid state drive in it, but I couldn't make use of it properly because I didn't have the BIOS set to AHCPI or whatever it's called. I didn't have it set to what I needed to set it to, and therefore I couldn't get the benefits from it. And the only way I could change it in the BIOS would have been to reinstall everything, and I was kind of figured, well, what's the point in reinstalling everything if I'm going to get a new computer? So I never bothered with that, and yeah, it was, and I had a GTX 460, which, actually soldiered along quite well under the circumstances. I mean, most games I had to set to medium or low type settings, most modern games, but, obviously Just Cause dates back to when this computer was new, so it was fairly okay, although I think I still only had about medium settings. The new computer, however, is a Core i7 4790 4 gigahertz Devil's Canyon. Which, the fact that it's called Devil's Canyon is pretty much reason enough to buy it on its own. It was the most expensive processor I could afford. It isn't obviously the most expensive processor. It's a 4-core. It's not one of the new 6-core ones, or any of that jazz. But it is a very, very tasty processor, and running at 4 gigahertz stock, and I suspect it'll be quite clockable. But I'm not going to bother clocking it just yet. I've still got the stock cooler in there. I've totally bashed this agency car up to pieces. Look, it's pulling quite badly to the left. But we will try and soldier on. Yeah, so that's the CPU, and I wanted to get the best possible CPU I could because one of the main problems with my old computer was it just took an absolute age to process video files, and obviously doing a lot of YouTubing involves processing a lot of video files, both in terms of processing the raw recordings and then in terms of so that you can edit them in some sort of reasonable fashion, and then in terms of actually rendering the edited videos out, and also just the problems with sort of like working with it in general. So I wanted to get a nice fast CPU that would see me well into the future, and alleviate a lot of those problems and help me to hit my target of spending no more than a couple of days a week. There we go, it's gone. We've lost it. We've lost the agency car. This is not what's going to happen to my computer, by the way. If that's what you're thinking, it is not going to explode in a fireball. That's just not the way of things. All right, that is not the way. Also, I've gone from 4 gigabytes of DDR2 RAM to 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, 2400. So that's going to make a massive difference as well, and really help again with the video editing, so that I can load large amounts of video into my editing program without having to worry about constantly thrashing the hard drive. Sticking the OS onto the SSD as well is fantastic. I mean, the boot time is just ridiculously low now. My old computer, to be fair, it was old and knackered, and also hadn't been reinstalled for years. So, it had bloated quite a lot. And, literally, I would turn it on in the mornings and then go off and, go to the loo, make some breakfast, kind of potter about for a bit, and then come back. And it would still be just about getting itself going. So, whereas the new one, you turn it on, and literally 30 seconds later, you can start doing stuff, if not less. So, it's fantastic. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. A GTX 960 rounds out the graphics capability. This thing's a bit slow, isn't it? Shall we? Here we go. Let's grab this. This looks like it might be a bit quicker. The graphics processor, GTX 960. It's a good, solid mid-range card. It's nothing to set the world on fire. It's certainly not as high-end as the CPU, but it should be more than enough to give me sort of high or very high or even ultra graphics on most games whilst recording. It also helps with the rendering and stuff as well, because you can make use of the GPU for rendering video files out and stuff. So so that does also help, and you know, the combination of the two is just really working fantastically. I mean, it's producing amazing results, just amazing results. I'm astonished. I mean, but it has taken a while to get everything up and running. So I made the decision to buy it finally on Sunday. Ordered the parts. Everything had arrived by Tuesday. No, Wednesday. Wednesday it arrived. Yeah, everything arrived by Wednesday. And then, you know, a good part of the day was spent just physically building it, because I just bought all the parts and put the thing together myself. I'm quite the techie, and I've put together many a computer over the years. I actually owned a computer repair shop for quite a number of years. So that wasn't too bad. I mean, the build went nice and smoothly. I do have some pictures, but they're on my knackered old camera phone, so they're not very good. If people are desperate to see them, I might upload a few, but yeah, they didn't turn out particularly great. So I may not, but yeah, that's it. That's my big. I shouldn't go on and on about it, should I? Because there are other things to talk about. But it has taken up, you know, the rest of the day on Wednesday was taken up installing updates. I stuck an old copy of Windows 7 on it. I haven't gone to Windows 8 because I just don't want to. I will probably go to the new Windows. I think they're calling it Windows 10, aren't they? I don't know what happened to 9, but anyway. I will probably go to the new Windows at some point, but for the time being, because it saved a little bit of money, I stuck with my original copy of Windows. So yeah, £850. I also got a new case for it to go in, a power supply, a nice one, and the motherboard, which was an Asus Z97 Pro Gamer, which I spent quite a bit of time researching, and actually that motherboard outperforms a lot of motherboards that are nearly twice the price. So you know, it was only about £100 motherboard, and I was umming and ahhing over whether I should spend more on the motherboard, but actually the money I saved off of doing that is basically going to allow me to get a monitor or whatever else. It also allowed me to push the CPU up higher and all that sort of stuff, and it's a blindingly good motherboard for the money. In fact, it's a blindingly good motherboard. In fact, it's a very good motherboard even for the money and a half, you know, like it is a very good board, and no complaints so far. I mean, the whole system is running really beyond my expectations. It is fantastic. So there you go. That is my big talk this week. I think that's all I'm going to talk about. The next 2 weeks are going to be really busy for me personally and professionally. I've got a lot going on, so I will try and hit all of my uploads, but if there is a little bit of disruption, I ask you to bear with me, please, and I will make up for it once this busy period is over. We've got like a wedding that I've got to go to, and there's all sorts of other stuff going on. So like I said, it's going to be a busy time. I doubt I'll be able to spend a lot of time on the computer, and I will try and, like I say, hit all of the video uploads. But it's going to depend on how much I can get done this weekend, basically, because this weekend is probably going to be the last weekend that I'm going to be able to do substantial amounts of recording for the next 2 weeks. So, just a heads up, just a warning that is going to be the case. And I may not be around. I may not be able to answer like people's comments and stuff. I will try because, you know, I obviously would prefer to, but I'm going to be without internet for substantial portions of it as well. So. So there you go. That is that. There will be more happening on the Patreon side of things. I now need to replace my one and only, target, which I've just gone ahead and done anyway, with other things and with a lot of lower level targets. So that's probably going to be the focus once I'm able to come back to the channel, and sort of, you know, work on it a bit more solidly. But that is going to have to wait. I don't really have any other channel news. All of the shows are continuing on nicely. We started the new schedule last week, and it is working certainly better for me. I mean, considering how much time I lost last week to the new build, and to sort of nursing the old computer and stuff and transferring everything across, I didn't have any real problems getting all of the uploads up. So there you go. Fantastic. Right, let us head over and quickly look at the analytics then. Fantastic. Right, here we are in the analytics screen. As you can see, our regular dashboard view, and it's going to be, the numbers are definitely going down. Look, we're down to 25,895 minutes watched. That's down from our last peak of around 32,000. So that's quite a lot less minutes watched, and the reason for that is because the big peak from our Standard Deep update video has now passed, and not only that, but we're in a bit of a lull here. But we'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a second. I don't think it's anything to be particularly concerned about. I'm not particularly concerned. It's never nice seeing numbers trending down after such a long period of them either trending up or remaining fairly flat. But there are plenty of good reasons why that is the case. So there we go. 1,098 subscribers. So we've gained about 90 odd subscribers since last week. Which is, again, not bad. It's a reflection of the fact that I've not been doing a lot of Twitter advertising and publicising of the channel this week because I've been quite busy. And it is, but it is still going up. People are still coming to the channel. And actually, it's quite nice to see that even when I do almost no Twitter advertising, we usually still get a couple of subscribers appearing. So whether that's people telling their friends about the channel and, word spreading naturally, or whether it's people who are perhaps taking a look at the channel before but didn't subscribe at the time but then decided to come back and subscribe later, or however it comes, whether we're actually starting, God forbid, to get some recommended spots from the almighty YouTube. I don't know. I'd be surprised. Although that said, I do see some very small channels from time to time in my recommended videos and stuff, so it is possible. It is certainly possible. Some great comments as always. I won't go into them today because I'm going to just try and be very quick here. Let's go into the analytics screen. So here's the analytics, sort of like desktop. Oh, look, Just Talk. 1,000 subs. So this is last week's Just Talk. This video got more comments in its first 5 days than your other videos from the last 6 months. Wow. Thanks, YouTube. That's a nice bit of information you've given me there. You guys obviously like to comment on I think it was the 1,000 subscribers. And last weekend I did do like a bit of a splurge of Twitter advertising, so we got a few new people coming in as well, which was awesome. And welcome to you all if you're still watching the channel. That's fantastic. That's what we want. We want people to stick around. We want people to watch all the content, or at least as much of the content as they enjoy. Fine. Performance, as you can see, everything, or certainly, these two are sort of trending down. Pretty much flat here. I mean, it's gone down maybe a shade, but not actually a lot. But both views and minutes watched are both trending down. Likes, however, is pretty good, pretty flat. Comments, pretty flat. Videos in playlists, I don't think that's even true. New subscribers is trending down a little bit as well. But let's look in more detail then. So let's look at the views. And we'll overlay the minutes watched. So as you can see, I mean, back here we're coming off the peak of the Stranded Deep update video, which actually was like up here. Its peak was like 2 days, in 2 days of watch time on its highest day. And we had lots of other sort of high numbers around there. And because that's now more than a month ago, and more than 28 days ago, it's literally just dropped off. So we have seen a big drop in our estimated minutes watched over the last, and also our views over the last 28 days. And, we maintained a pretty decent kind of like level around here for a little while. But then in the last couple of weeks there, what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so in the last like week and a half or so, we've started trending down a little bit. We've started dropping off a little bit. And this is because this is where I stopped really publicizing and pushing the channel. So we weren't getting the new views in at the same rate. But the fact that it hasn't kind of dropped off a cliff, I think is a good sign, because it means that actually we're maintaining a fairly decent number of active, regular, repeat viewers, which is fantastic. I mean, that is ultimately what it's all about, especially a channel like mine, because I don't do kind of... I don't know, I don't have any videos which are likely to get searched up easily, and I don't have sort of tutorial videos and things that potentially might that potentially might generate other views. The Stranded Deep update video, and some other videos like that are perhaps more of that sort of content. But generally speaking, the fact that I just run random games in little series, it works best with regular viewers. At the end of the day, that's it. That's the type of channel that I want to run. That's the type of channel that I am running, and it is a relatively hard channel, I suspect, a hard format to build views and stuff. But when you do build regular viewers, they tend to be quite loyal, and they tend to loyal is probably not, perhaps not the right word. They tend to be repeat viewers. Like they tend to be people who will come back and keep following and even if they take a break for a while, they'll come back and then potentially catch up on a missed series or something like that. So the fact that we have held, and we've dropped to some for us very low figures. I mean, I haven't seen 108 views and 7 hours and 56 minutes for a long time. If we go, we have to go right back to get this low. Back here, 7 hours and 7 minutes, 128 views. This was back on the 12th of March. So that's the last time we were this low. We have had some other ones where we've dropped down a bit. We dropped down to 10 hours here, 12 hours here. But if we just put this back to 28 days, first 28 days, no, that's not where we want to be. We want the last 28 days. There we go. Even if we look at this, 108 views and 7 hours and 56 minutes watched. Now, bear in mind, I release one video a day, or slightly less than that now. And most don't get up to 100 views, so we're still getting people watching, going back and looking at old content to maintain this. I mean, if we look at minutes watches, obviously 7 hours and 56 minutes. So I mean, I don't know. We'll look at audience retention in a minute. I mean, we've got 19 views. This just went out quite late last night, so that's not entirely surprising. I am not disheartened by this, despite the fact that we've got a red down arrow and a red down arrow. Look, minus 18.81%. Minus 13.78%. We're on, you cannot be perpetually growing, at least not without spending, perpetually larger amounts of time and effort to sustain that sort of growth. So this will reverse again. This will start going back up again, but probably not for at least a couple of weeks. And then we're going to go hardcore at it again, I suspect, because it's going to be, I'm going to have had quite a long break from really actively pushing the channel by the time sort of these 2 weeks are over, and I will come back fresh and hale and ready to push hard. And one thing I'm looking at actually is joining a network, which is, I don't know. I mean, if any of you out there have any knowledge or experience with YouTube networks, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your advice. It seems like you get conflicting opinions, but it seems like it may not be worth it, actually. I mean, the best one that I found was Curse, because you can join and leave whenever you want, and they give you a 90% revenue share. But at the moment, I'm getting 100% revenue share, so I don't quite understand what I gain by joining them. It's unclear as to whether I would actually be serving more ads or not. I mean, because, and this comes from viewing their forums and stuff, and I think the trouble with networks is, it used to be the case that only very large YouTubers tended to get offers to join networks, and networks were only really interested in, and I'm not talking about like megastars, but just people who were big enough to already be making a decent living out of it, and to and all of that sort of stuff. And by lumping those people together, they were able to attract sort of advertisers and stuff. The trend nowadays seems to be, for certainly some of the networks, to basically accept virtually anybody. And if you look at things like Machinima, which has a really bad reputation now, at least it seems to, and I can see why, it seems that their plan is just hoover up everybody, especially young kids and stuff, lock them into contracts, and then hope that like a few of them emerge as stars and they get to basically exploit them. And in the meantime, they're hoovering up, a tiny amount of money from all of these different people. But it adds up. It's a tricky one, and it requires a lot more research. I was all set to sign up with Curse, and I got as far as reading their contract, which was okay. But in the end, I decided, look, it's still so small, the channel, and £3.45 a month. The one advantage is I'd have to wait for that to accumulate up to about £100 before I can withdraw it from YouTube. Whereas with a network, you would get paid every month. But my question is, if I joined Curse with these sorts of view figures, which are more than enough to join them. I mean, they require 1,000 subscribers and what was it, something like a couple of thousand views in a month, or like 8,000 views in a month. In the last sort of month, if you have less than 1,000 subscribers, which is sort of where the channel is. I mean, actually, we were above 8,000 views for a while, I think, anyway, or something like that. And in fact, I may even have those numbers wrong. I don't know. But anyway, like the channel is big enough just to join Curse. Machinima just accept anybody. But if I were to join Curse, the question is, what would I gain? Would I just see this number go down by 10%? And everything else would remain as is. Yeah, okay, I get access to some free sound and audio libraries and stuff. But honestly, if you know where to look, you can get that on the internet already. So it's not that big of a deal. And you know, that might be more interesting at some point in the future, but you know, I don't know. And as somebody rightly pointed out, what happens if you then decide to leave that network? Do you have to demonetize all of those videos that you use their sound libraries in? So a bit of a double-edged sword, something that needs to be thought about, I think, a little bit more clearly. So that was like 5,000 odd views in the last 28 days, and only 10% of those were actually monetized. So 532. My actual CPM, look, is very high. Look, 11.49, which is actually much, much higher than a lot of people were talking about getting on the Curse network. What I'm unclear about is whether they get more monetized playbacks. If I was getting even half of my videos were getting monetized playbacks, then this would be like 2,500. So if I'm getting 2,500 and I'm getting like $3 or $4 CPM, then you know, that's like, you know, $10 a month. That's clearly worth it. You know, that's clearly considerably more than I'm getting at the moment. But information is just not easy to come by, which is another thing I find frustrating about it. Curse say that they're transparent, but actually their website is rubbish and provides you with virtually no information at all, like, to base your decision on. So I don't know, and maybe I'm missing something. Like I said, if you have any knowledge about this sort of thing, please do let me know. Sorry for rambling on about this, by the way. I hope I haven't lost anybody to the inanities. Hovering 9%, it's gone down slightly, the female share, but generally the same. I don't know how to get this to show other countries. Look, it says top locations by views. We've got United States and, weirdly, Cyprus. I don't know where it chooses these from. I don't know how it chooses these. It's just weird. Look, Cyprus, 25 to 34-year-olds, 34 views. Apparently that is my second highest country, like, location by views, which I find impossible to believe. Frankly, I mean, completely impossible to believe. So I can only assume that this is slightly messed up. Search for locations. Oh, here we go. Look, Europe. Cyprus is the only listed location in Europe. Well, it's clearly messed up. All right, let's just move on. Audience retention. Pretty good. 4 minutes 34 seconds. We've actually peaked up to like 7 minutes. This shows exactly how much the my sort of efforts on the channel have changed over time. If we sort of like pan it out, look, this is where I was putting in huge amounts of effort, a lot every night. You know, we're getting up to like 21 subscribers in one day, 14 subscribers in one day, 13 subscribers in one day. Coming into this last sort of like 2 weeks or so, it's dropped down to more like sort of 3 or 4 or 5 subscribers a day, and indeed down to, look, 1 each of these 2 days. And in fact, I don't think I did any Twitter advertising on, what was this, the 22nd and 23rd, a couple of days ago. It's quite possible I did none, because that's when I was sorting out my computer, and frankly, I had other things that I wanted to spend my time on, which is what I did. Well, so that is the analytics this week. In the journey, the Wizard Train has a new engine, a new supercharged, mega powerful engine, and we will see if that helps to turn around those red down arrows and get them trending back up again, because that would certainly be good. Right, well, there we go. That was the analytics. I have moved on because the game actually crashed. So fine. Hopefully I talked about everything during the analytics with regard to some of the downward trends on the numbers, which is never nice to see, but it's all perfectly explainable and understandable, and not something that I am worried about at this point in time. And we are going to see periods like this when I just can't focus on the channel as much as I have done at other times, and inevitably, especially whilst we're small, that's going to mean that numbers start going down. And that is almost certainly going to be the case for the next 2 weeks as well, because, as I said, I'm going to be very, very busy. I'm going to have very limited amount of time to spend on the channel, and all of that effectively is going to be going into recording content and you know, doing as much keeping up as possible. Right, fine, fantastic, brilliant. Well, we'll leave it there then. I think thanks a lot for watching. It's been a bit of an odd Just Talk because most of it's been talking about my new computer, which is fantastic, and I'm really happy with. But yeah, that is all. Right, okay, fantastic. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I have been Weird Wizard, and I will see you later.